What if I told you that your entire life, every pivotal decision, every random encounter, and every quiet moment of reflection might be nothing more than a series of calculated statistical anomalies, carefully orchestrated by a reality you don't understand? We're not talking about simple luck or the occasional roll of the cosmic dice. We're talking about events so mathematically impossible, so profoundly bizarre, that they scream for an explanation that science consistently refuses to provide. The fabric of our world is significantly thinner than you have ever been led to believe, and beneath the surface of our mundane existence, there are intricate, repeating patterns that simply should not exist in a universe governed by pure randomness. It starts with the strangers who aren't strangers at all. Have you ever walked down a crowded street, surrounded by the hum of city life, and seen your own face staring back at you from a body you've never inhabited? Science calls them doppelgangers, a term rooted in German folklore, but the truth is far more unsettling than a mere trick of genetics. There are documented records of people, separated by vast oceans, differing social classes, and even centuries of history, who share not just a passing resemblance, but a life story that mirrors the other in eerie detail. Think of the famous comparison between Enzo Ferrari, the founder of the legendary Italian car manufacturer, and Mesut Ozil, the world-class footballer. Look at the side-by-side photos. The resemblance isn't just uncanny, it's identical, down to the slope of the nose and the weary expression in the eyes. It's as if nature ran out of blueprints and started recycling souls, using the same physical template for different timelines. But why does this happen? And more importantly, why does it feel like a glitch in the simulation of reality? You see, the human brain is hardwired to seek patterns, to find order in the noise, but sometimes, the pattern is far too perfect to be an accident. It's as if the universe is actively mocking our fragile sense of individuality. What if we are just minor variations of the same template, repeating ad infinitum? It's a terrifying thought, isn't it? That you are not the unique, one-of-a-kind protagonist you believe yourself to be, but rather a recurring character in a script you haven't been allowed to read. And then, the situation takes an even more disturbing turn. We have started finding cases where these lookalikes didn't just share a face, they shared names, professions, and even specific, tragic manners of death. It's as if the universe is running a fixed script, and we are just the actors playing the same roles over and over again, oblivious to the fact that someone else has already performed our scene. Can you imagine looking into the eyes of a person who looks exactly like you, only to realize they are living the life you were meant to live, or perhaps living the life you already lost? It's a psychological nightmare, a fracture in your identity that refuses to heal, leaving you questioning whether your memories are truly your own or merely echoes of a previous iteration. But wait, it gets darker. What if your mind could reach out and touch the future, pulling shadows of tomorrow into your nightmares tonight? History is littered with tales of people who dreamed of tragedies long before they occurred. Take the sinking of the Titanic. Months before that supposedly unsinkable ship hit the iceberg in the North Atlantic, multiple people across the globe claim to have had vivid, terrifying dreams of a massive vessel going down in the freezing water. They didn't just guess, they saw it. They felt the biting cold water rising around their ankles. They heard the frantic, desperate screams of passengers who had not yet even boarded the ship. Is it possible that time isn't a straight line, as our linear perception suggests, but a vast, interconnected web where the future is already written and waiting to be accessed by those sensitive enough to touch the threads? If you dream of a fire, and the very next day your neighborhood burns to the ground, is that just a staggering coincidence? Or is it a warning from a version of you that has already lived through the tragedy, trying to send a signal back through the static? The sheer number of documented premonitions surrounding major world events, from the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand to the tragedy of 9/11, is statistically impossible to ignore. We aren't talking about vague, open to interpretation feelings, we are talking about specific, granular details, names, dates, and geographic locations, revealed in the dark hours of sleep. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What are you dreaming about tonight? Is it merely a random, chaotic firing of neurons, or is it a brief, terrifying glimpse into a reality you cannot escape? But don't think you're safe just because you don't dream or because you consider yourself a skeptic. Some coincidences are written in the ink of history itself, carved into the timelines of the world as if by a cosmic hand. Have you heard of the Lincoln and Kennedy connection? It's the kind of story that makes seasoned historians sweat and theologians question the nature of time. Both men were shot in the back of the head. Both were shot on a Friday. Both died in the presence of their wives. Their successors were both named Johnson. One was born in 1808, the other in 1908. One was elected to the presidency in 1860, the other in 1960. The list goes on, spiraling into a vortex of repeating dates, names, and circumstances that defy the known laws of probability. It's not just a coincidence, it's a terrifying pattern. It's as if history is a closed loop, repeating its most tragic, violent moments because it has no other way to exist. Why would the universe repeat itself with such cruel, clockwork precision? Is it a cosmic joke? A glitch in the system of time that we are powerless to fix? Every time you look at these historical markers, you realize that your sense of agency is a lie. We are not moving forward toward a grand destiny, we are circling the same drain, reliving the same traumas under different names. And the most disturbing part? We keep ignoring it. We call it irony. We call it chance. We call it statistical noise. But when the numbers stack up like this, chance is no longer a valid explanation, it's an excuse for our collective fear. We are afraid to admit that the world is more organized, more rigid, and perhaps more sinister than we dared to imagine. We prefer the safety of a chaotic universe to the crushing weight of a predetermined one. Let's talk about the math, because the math does not lie. If you take a room with just 23 people, there is a 50% chance that 2 of them share a birthday. It's called the birthday paradox, and it's the gateway to understanding how our intuition fundamentally fails us. We think the world is random, but the math proves that it's actually hyperconnected, governed by invisible laws of probability that favor clusters and repetitions. When you consider the billions of people on this planet, the impossible becomes inevitable. If you have enough trials, even the most absurd, logic-defying event is mathematically guaranteed to happen. It's a numbers game, but the implications are haunting. If everything is mathematically destined to occur, then your life is just a sequence of pre-programmed events. Every choice you think you make, every person you meet by accident, every tragedy you suffer, it was all in the calculation from the start. Does that make you feel small? It should. We are living in a vast sea of probability, drowning in the statistics of our own existence. We try to find meaning in the chaos, but the chaos is just a layer of math we haven't solved yet. And as we dig deeper into the void, we find the most unsettling truth of all, the mystery of the human mind. Psychology tells us that we are pattern-seeking machines. We see faces in the clouds, we hear voices in the wind, and we construct complex narratives out of thin air to make sense of the overwhelming void. This is called apophenia, the tendency to perceive meaningful connections between unrelated things. It's our brain's way of protecting us from the terrifying realization that there is no inherent meaning. We force the world to make sense because the alternative, that we are drifting in a cold, indifferent vacuum, is too much for the human spirit to bear. But what if our brain isn't just finding patterns? What if it's creating them? What if the reason these coincidences happen is because we are manifesting them through our own desperate, subconscious need for connection? It's a loop of psychological feedback. You look for the sign, you find the sign, and you confirm your own insanity. It's a beautiful, terrifying trap. We are the architects of our own mysteries, building elaborate walls of logic around a center that is completely hollow. So, what is the final answer? Is the universe a clockwork machine of repeating cycles, destined to play out the same tragedies on an infinite loop? Or is it a chaotic mess that our brains are desperately trying to tame, creating stories where none exist? Perhaps it's both. Perhaps we are the observers who give the universe its meaning, and in doing so, we trap ourselves in a web of our own making. The coincidences aren't outside of us, they are us. They are the reflections of our own consciousness trying to stare back at itself, unable to recognize its own image. It's a haunting thought, isn't it? To realize that the mystery isn't out there in the stars or the history books, it's right behind your eyes. Every time you think you've found a secret, you've only found another layer of your own mind. The coincidences will continue. The patterns will repeat. The synchronicity will persist. And you will continue to search for the meaning, never realizing that the search itself is the only thing that is real. We are the ghosts in the machine, searching for a ghost that doesn't exist. The numbers will never stop stacking. The faces will keep appearing in the crowd, familiar and yet wrong. The dreams will keep bleeding into the daylight, blurring the line between sleep and wakefulness. And you will stay here, in this room, wondering if you are the one who is actually real, or if you are just another digit in the equation. It's a cycle that never ends, a story that never finds its conclusion because it was never meant to be solved. We are living in the static between the stations, waiting for a signal that will never come, listening to the white noise of a universe that has already finished its sentence. The world is a puzzle with missing pieces, and we are the pieces trying to fit into a hole that doesn't exist. There are still countless mysteries left to discover, but perhaps the greatest mystery is why we continue to look, knowing that the more we find, the less we actually know. We are trapped in the geometry of chance, waiting for the final number to be called, hoping that when the pattern finally resolves, we are more than just a footnote in a cosmic equation. The silence is growing louder, and the coincidences are closing in. What will you do when the pattern finally points to you? The answer remains hidden in the dark, waiting for the next repetition. We are the echo, and the echo is all we will ever be. Every second that passes is another data point in a record that spans eternity, and yet, we remain convinced of our own importance. It is the ultimate irony of human life, to be so small, yet so obsessed with the idea that we are part of a grand design. The patterns are not just in the history books, they are in your daily routine, your habits, your fears, and your desires. You are the pattern. You are the anomaly. And as the clock ticks forward, you are moving closer to the realization that you have been here before, and you will be here again. The mystery remains, as vast and cold as the void itself, and we are just beginning to scratch the surface of the terrifying reality that lies beneath the mask of our everyday lives.